I grew up being black in a small town on the prairies in the 90s, and that's a very specific experience. But I also understood that my blackness was connected to a long lineage in the past, and then I also was inspired at times in my life to see that lineage extending into the future. And so that idea of the past and the future being connected through these archetypes was important to me. As a black person growing up in small town Alberta, without a lot of exposure to black culture, I worked with the pieces that I found. So I mean, Alex Haley's not on there because I didn't read Alex Haley work or see Alex Haley's work at that point in my life. I wasn't introduced to a lot of contemporary black theorists until different points in my life, and I chose not to include those for a reason. And many of these characters are fictional characters for a reason, because those are the archetypes that I had. I was watching Steve Urkel on TV, and I was seeing Geordie LaForge as this black nerd who was respected for his skill and his craft, and he never had to play basketball, and he never ran from the cops, and he didn't listen to hip hop, and all of these pieces of identity I felt were hoisted on me. I saw Geordie in the future, in this imagined future, escaping from, and he lived in this amazing meritocracy that was the Federation, the Starfleet. When I was trying to deconstruct this idea of identity, I came upon the thought of archetypes, and that we often compose our own identities out of found archetypes and not constructed ones. And so by making it out of these found pieces, our archetypes are partially our own, but partially, like anything found, is partially just what was there, and you'll fashion what you can out of it. I decided for this piece to sort of stage an exhibition. And so when you look at the work, you'll see you'll see these artifacts that are recovered from a dig, an archaeological dig, where the pieces of this observatory, the roof of this observatory that had been painted, this roof has collapsed, and so the ceiling of the space was painted, and the roof has fallen in, and we've recovered all these shards of the roof. And so you can sort of piece together the idea that this roof was painted with all of these different portraits, and that there was a constellation map, a star map overlaid onto the roof of this sort of personal observatory. There are also a few things in the piece that maybe give you clues that the construction of this ostensible exhibit isn't finished. So on the storytelling panel that's on the wall right in the middle of the artwork, there are a few things that might be read as inaccuracies. So one of the panels is actually moved from its position on the storytelling panel, and then when you look at it actually on the wall, it's in a different spot. Almost like the exhibit designers were still figuring it out. And I think that process of constructing an identity out of archetypes is not something that is done at any point. I think that process of continual myth making and asking us to really point at the process and not the results, it was an important part of my own personal excavation that I am working on and worked on throughout the process of making Constellation. The stars are in position. If you're looking west from the gallery, up at the sky, those are the constellations that you'll see, or those are the star groupings that you'll see. And the one difference is that if you look out west from the gallery in February in the year 2031 is when everything will actually sort of line up correctly for that image. And so the idea was that this was found from the past, but that it had this predictive capacity. And that was important for me to convey the idea of these archetypes existing in the future, of blackness existing in the future on the prairies, and connecting to this futureness and being a part of this futureness and engaging with the future, both my future self and our collective future, the zeitgeist of the future. So that idea of anachronism through the star position and this predictive capacity of somebody from the past to be like, years and years from now, when they see this, the stars will be aligned for them to see it in this way. And there was something interesting about that to me that I hope the work explores for the audiences as much as it did for me.